My experiences as a black man, pretty strange. And I've kind of really started to notice, I've been noticing these experiences for some years now, but I started to really notice these experiences, like how people really perceive me or how people want to perceive me within this last year or so. I don't even know where to start off from. But the city where I live, you know, it's a racist city. Has a racist culture behind it. I mean, it's not like a blatant racist city. Um, it's not like KKK is gonna. It's not like KKK is up in my city, you know, burning people's houses down, and people aren't gonna call you the N word. But people in my city have like this extreme, messed up, whitewashed mentality. And it's not only the white people, it's the non blacks, it's Hispanics, it's other black people. And let me just give you guys some examples of my experiences. People are always trying to like downplay my manhood in some shape or form. And one of the ways people do this is exaggerating how young I look. Like I look young, but I don't think I look as young as people try to portray. People always tell me, like a few people have told me within this last year that I look like a big 17-year-old. Like I know I look young, right? But I at least look like I'm 21 years old. I don't look that young to be confused as a 17-year-old. And a few people have told me this. It's like as a black man, especially a young black man in their 20s, people that's the age range where like people feel your manhood the most. So people try to cling on to your youth as long as possible. So in their minds, clinging on to your youth is like downplaying your manhood. in their mind. I don't know if like people really have a fear of your manhood as a black man to that extent that they feel like they have to downplay your manhood and their psyche just so they won't feel like some type of way. I don't know if it's like some type of defense mechanism on their end. Like they fear your manhood so much. In order for them not to be scared of your manhood or feel some type of way, they have to downplay your age. That's that's in a way that's kind of like their form of stripping you from your manhood. It's like perceiving you as if you're not an adult, as if you're not a man at all. Or and I have other experiences that are similar to this. Um, like my father, he's very sick. He's been in the hospital, nursing homes within this past year. And I'm an adult, I'm in my mid 20s. And whenever I would talk to the nurses and I'll tell them my age, right? They'll be acting like I'm too young to handle the responsibility to to take care of my father's situation. They'd be like, "Oh, wow, you're so young." But someone my age, like I am young, but I'm not that type of young, like an 18 to 21-year-old who's incapable of handling responsibilities. It's like people are like always trying to key in to my youth. People have like this obsession with my youth. People are always trying to over exaggerate my youth. And technically, I'm not even a youth anymore because I'm over the age of 24. That's the funny thing about it. And there's several nurses who have said that to me. It's like, oh, you're at this age. Oh wow, you're so young. Then they'll be talking to you like you're an 18-year-old. Oh, do you work? Do you go to school? They try to be critical of you, ask you questions that you're not supposed to be asking no grown man. And my father, he's been in several hospitals, and like every hospital, they talk to me like I'm some little boy, and I'm some grown man. They talk to me like I'm some little boy. Like people have an issue getting over a black man's youth. It's like this society has to perceive you as being some big child. Um, and it used to really get to me, but it used to really frustrate me at first. But you know, I'm starting to get over it because I know I'm a man. I know I'm a grown ass man. So the way other people perceive me shouldn't really be bothering me like that. Also, like whenever I have a conversation, I mean, a lot of times when I have a conversation with an older black man, right, and I tell them my age, I'm in my mid-20s, by the way. They act as if they automatically make a comment and be like, "Oh, well, you have a lot to learn. You haven't experienced anything." It's that type of thing, you know. I tell them my age, and they behave like I'm some 16, 17, 18-year-old kid who's wet behind the ears, who's never experienced anything in life. I mean, I know I'm young, but I'm not young to that extent to someone just automatically assume I've never experienced anything in life before. And I remember I have this conversation with this older dude this past week or so, and he's gonna ask me if I ever had a girlfriend before, and I'm over the age of 25, bro. And you're gonna ask me that question. It's like no matter how old you get as like a black man, people perceive you as being like a child. Like socially, physically, we're viewed as masculine as black men, but socially, it's like we're viewed as big children. Like people really can't get over your youth. It's really strange. And it's crazy. A few years ago, when I was younger, I wasn't getting this big child routine like I am now. This big child routine really just started to pick up within this last year or so. And it's strange. Like I wonder why is this occurring? Like why is it just starting to pick up like this? I have my own theories. My theory about this is I'm getting older. I'm getting more into my manhood. I think people can see it and people fear it. I can even see it in myself compared to when I was like 18 or 21, 22. I can even see that I'm starting to carry myself differently. Like the way I sway my arms, the way I walk, my je ne sais quoi is kind of different from a few years ago. I can even notice it when I look in the mirror or when I see myself walk. Like I see an it factor in myself that I'm beginning to have that I didn't have some years ago. Like I think I'm getting more into my masculinity, more into my manhood, and people can see it. And people in this society, they fear black manhood. They don't mess with black manhood. Black manhood is a taboo. Black manhood is feared. Black manhood is envied. And that's ultimately due to the type of society we live in. I mean, we live in a white supremacist society. And historically, the number one enemy of the society has always been Black manhood. And another thing that I've been experiencing, and this is kind of tied to the big child routine as well, is people are always trying to be critical of me. This past year, I even had a span of this past year. It was like this one moment. It was like this one span of like a few months that like every other person that was coming across was asking me if I work, if I go to school. Do you work? Do you go to school? Do you work? Do you go to school? Are you in school? And I'm in my mid-20s. I mean, that's not how you talk to a grown man. Like, the first thing that comes out of your mouth to a grown man shouldn't be, do you work? Do you work? Do you go to school? Like, I'm not no 17-year-old kid. Like, knock it off. It's disrespectful. And it's funny when I try to like, I've had a couple times where I call people out on it, and their excuse was, "Oh, you're still young." Woo woo. Okay, yes, I'm still technically young, but that doesn't mean you have to talk to me like I'm some 18-year-old little boy. You know, people when it comes to Black men, people like to hide behind like these weird technicalities. Oh, he's technically young. He's in his 20s, so I can talk to him like he's some 16-year-old boy. And you call people out on it, like they'll be acting confused, like they don't know that they're not supposed to be talking to you like you're some little boy or whatever. And it's almost like it's an attack on my manhood. Like people want certain Black men to feel like they're small. So people have like their little tactics to belittle certain Black men. It's like people want to tear you down from your manhood. And one of their tactics to do this is to treat you like you're a child. I even go through like these weird experiences with people younger than me, like being critical of my whereabouts. That's kind of tied to the big child routine too. I mean, why are you being critical of a grown man's whereabouts? I'm a grown man. I'm allowed to be wherever I want at any time. the fact that you need to be critical of another adult's whereabouts is strange. I'm not your child. And like, and I experience this from people I know a lot of times. Like people I know, they'll see me out and about, and they'll be asking me like, "Oh, why are you here?" or they'll see me somewhere. Then the next time they see me, they'll be asking me, "Oh, what were you doing there?" And the vibe I get when they ask me that question is like, oh, okay, this person's trying to find a flaw in me to see if I was just at this place, if I was up to no good or not. It's like, why are you being critical of my whereabouts in the first place? Like, people are always trying to find some flaw in me. I've noticed that people be thirsty to find flaws in me. And one of the ways people try to find flaws in me is trying to people will see me in one place in public, right? And they'll use the fact that they saw me in public as a reach to be like, oh, I saw him this place. Oh, he must be up to no good. It's like, it's very strange. It's almost like the people in my city, my area, have like this 1960s mentality toward a certain black man. Like, because you're a black man, you're not supposed to be certain places or whatever. That's some 1960s racist mentality. And, one of the other things that people say to me is kind of funny is, and I get this from women a lot. Like I'll be talking to a woman, then at the beginning of the conversation, they'll be like, "Why are you here?" And it's funny. It's like I can always sense it before it comes. Like whenever I sense it, they say it like in the next sentence. I'll be thinking, "Oh, watch." They're gonna be trying to be critical of my whereabouts. Then I don't know where they'll be like, "Why are you here?" And there's several women who asked me that. And I just got into it with this girl that I was speaking to a few days ago. I mean, she saw me somewhere and she was like trying to be critical of my whereabouts. So she was asking me why I was at this place and woo woo whatever. And I said to her, like, and this girl is younger than me, a few years younger than me, right? Why are you being? I said to her, why are you being critical of a grown man's whereabouts? Like, why is it because you're concerned what I do, where I hang out? She would ask me why am I at someplace? And this girl is younger than me. It's like, why are you being critical of grown man's whereabouts? Am I not allowed to be at this place or that place? what causes you to think that you're in a position to be critical of someone else in that fashion? And I can guarantee you, if I was a white man, you wouldn't be trying to be critical of my whereabouts. And another thing that's attached to this is certain black men are kind of like a taboo. Certain black men are taboo. So when people see you certain places and they have this whitewash mentality, it just doesn't sit well with them. It's like I said earlier, like people in my city have like this 1960s whitewash mentality. Oh, black man, you're not supposed to be certain places. Being critical of your whereabouts, talk to you like you're some big child. And separate from this, another thing people, this guy from my church, right? Every time I see him, like I can go to church, right? For 4 weeks consecutively in a month. And each week I go to church, he'll be asking me if I'm working. Like every time he sees me, he asks me if I'm working. And every time I tell him, yes, I'm working. I do this type of job. I work at this company. And this, every time I see him, I tell him this. And he asks me that question. I tell him where I work, what I'm doing, what type of work I'm doing. But he'll keep asking me if I'm working every time he sees me. He like finds it hard to believe that I have a job. Like, yeah, I get stereotypes. One of the stereotypes is, oh, black men are lazy. We don't like to work. We don't work. And I guess that guy has that mentality towards me or whatever. So he like kind of finds it hard to believe that I have a job or whatever. And every time he sees me, he has to ask if I'm working. And every time I say, yes, I'm working. He keeps asking me. And that guy, this same guy, he kind of has like this weird, fucked up, whitewashed like perception of me. Like earlier, I was telling you guys how my father, he's sick in the hospital, and this guy from my church, people from my church know about my father's situation, and this same guy from church, he he finds it hard to believe that I visit my father on a regular basis, and he finds it hard to believe that I care for my father and I love my father. And one of the things he said to me, and he's not the only person who said this to me. Like I'll tell people my father's sick and he's being hospitalized. He's in a nursing home, and I'll tell people that, like, my father's situation, and they're asking me, "Do you visit him? Do you visit your father?" And that's disrespectful on a whole nother level. Disrespectful, extremely disrespectful. That's extremely disrespectful. Like, shouldn't it be assumed that I visit my father? Shouldn't it be assumed that I visit my father who's extremely ill? Shouldn't that be assumed? Like, if someone told me that they had one of their parents, their father, who's sick in a hospital, the last thing I would ask them is, "Do you visit him?" Especially with the like, "Do you visit him?" That's the last thing I would ask them. I mean, I would assume that that's your parent who's extremely ill. But Black American men, ADOS men, were demonized to like this extreme level that people always try to see the bad in us. And one of the other things I also get mm, is the "Do you know how to drive?" question. I mean, do you know how disrespectful it is to ask a grown ass man, like, "Do you know how to drive?" That's one of the other questions I get. Do you know how to drive? Or do you have a license? And a few people have asked me this past year. And it's crazy, really, asking a grown man those type of questions. Like, people have like a really messed up perception on me. sometimes, a lot of times, it's not even a perception people have of me. I don't think a lot of times. Sometimes it is, but I believe people want to perceive me in a bad way. I'm the type of black man who people want to look down on, people want to think negatively of. So people are always reaching to find the bad in me. People are always reaching to find the bad in me. It's like with certain black men in society that people want to go out their way to view them in a negative light. They either want to view you in a negative light or they try to find a flaw or weakness in your character, in your being. And it's really messed up. Um, people do it. People try to do this because certain black men are just carry themselves with a superiority, I believe. And as a black man in America, especially as an American black man, you're not supposed to be that type of way. So when you're the type of black man who carries himself and who has a certain je ne sais quoi, who doesn't really fit the negative stereotypes, really, people have to stereotype you even more. If you don't fit the negative images that are portrayed in black men, really, if you don't truly fit those stereotypes, people have to seek those bad things in you to throw you into that no good nigga category.